Hello everyone, I'm GWFawkes. Welcome to the Model Gaming Show. It is for the week of July 22nd, 2018, and let's get right into it tonight. Nothing really big happened this week, to be honest. Again, we're still coming out of E3. Nothing huge. And I want to talk about just a new release, actually, that I think isn't going to get a lot of attention, except for the backers on Kickstarter. But yeah, it's the Banner Saga 3. So if you haven't heard of the Banner Saga, the first iteration was kickstarted several years ago and completely funded. It's like a hand-drawn, hand-painted art style tactical RPG, Viking RPG. Really damn good game. And the second one simply improves upon this. This is envisioned as a trilogy. The second one they created without Kickstarter, and then for the third one they went back and created a Kickstarter again after learning lessons from the second. Honestly, I think you can get the first two for like 20 bucks, and depending on what Kickstarter version you did and whatnot, I think there's either a discount or something like that where you get the first two as well. This is definitely a saga worth playing. The games are pretty short, about 10 to 15 hours for the first two each, and the story is compelling, the characters are compelling, the world is beautiful and interesting, and it is a great story. I'm super excited actually to play this and see how it ends. It's hard-hitting, truly, and your decisions matter, and the interactions you make with characters matter, and it's probably one of my favorite games of the years that they were released. Banner Saga 1 and 2 are really damn good games. The second improves upon the first, and from what I've heard, this third improves upon those. It's got an 85 on OpenCritic right now. And yeah, I'm definitely going to buy it soon and play it. I'm going to finish it on my Xbox since that's where I've played the first two. But if you have not checked it out, please do so. These are great games that should not be missed. So I want to get into the part two of my ongoing series here of why I bought certain consoles and whatnot last week. If you want to check it out, I did why I bought an Xbox One and why I still enjoy it. And this week is why I bought a Switch. I want to provide some context first of my history with Nintendo, just so you get an idea of my purchasing habits, because it actually does matter. So I owned an NES when it came out. My parents bought me one, and they bought me an SNES when I was a young kid. If I really think about it and am real with myself, the SNES is probably my favorite system still. If you go back and look at the library that the SNES had, it was fantastic. And I just don't think there's been that many quality games released for one system like that, all first party ever. Great system. Had an N64, had a GameCube. I never was a Sony guy. And never bought a PlayStation 2. I was one of the very few that did not have a PlayStation 2. I bought a Dreamcast instead. We all know how that went. Not very well, but yeah, so more recent history. Let's talk about the last couple of consoles. I spent the night overnight at a Best Buy waiting in line for the Wii back when it released. And it was solely because I wanted that new system. It was really hype, and Twilight Princess was coming out for it, and I thought that was a good transition from the GameCube to the new system. I knew there were games coming out, and the motion controls really enraptured everyone. And so I bought that system, and let's not mince words here. There were a ton of great games for that system. Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers. I mean, the Metroid Prime trilogy I was able to play that. They remastered everything, but they had Metroid Prime 3 on there. Resident Evil 4. There's a ton of games that I could list, right? But at the same time, that list isn't nearly as expansive as the systems around it, because there was very little third-party support for the Wii. And after a certain period of its life cycle, I would say maybe 3.5 to 4 years in, like, it dried up fast, and nothing really came out for it of consequence. And so for me, as a really hardcore Nintendo fan, right? So a hardcore gamer, I felt that Nintendo just said, screw all of those people. We're going after the really casual gamer, and any casual person, I mean, I can't tell you how many Wii systems sold just for Wii Sports. And it's basically a tech demo. And yeah, it was really fun, but it's a tech demo to show off the motion controls, which really never came to fruition. So that was super frustrating. Because of that, and because of how they handled the Wii, I didn't buy a Wii U. It's a stupid as hell name, but at the same time, I knew exactly what the console was, and I was interested, but I didn't buy it. My friend ended up buying it, and I ended up playing all the marquee games for it that I wanted to. Tropical Freeze, they re-released, I believe, Donkey Kong Country Returns as well, since I never played that on the Wii. You know, the Mario's, New Super Mario Brothers, and all that stuff that came out for the Wii U. But I think the numbers speak for itself. They had only sold a little over 12 million copies. That's really bad. They had really bad marketing for that system. And I actually bought one after they announced it was discontinued with, you know, like the top 6 or 7 games on that system, because those are the only ones worth having. I really could make an argument that there's 10 games worth playing on the Wii U, and that might still be too many. So didn't buy a Wii U. So going into the Switch, there was just a lot of, not concern, but unknowns about it. Is it a console, like regular console? Is it a handheld? How underpowered is it going to be? And from what I told you about waiting for the Xbox last week, I had decided to wait for the Switch. And I went against my word on that and my normal behavior, and I only really waited a couple months for it. I think I waited until June. It came out in March. Frankly, because the actual payoff of the Switch, everyone seemed to buy into and love. And frankly, it's a great piece of hardware, man. Like, holding the Switch and the controllers, everything feels good. Their Pro controller is friggin' awesome. It's great form factor, the UI is snappy, and it really is seamless docking and undocking. That's a really cool feature. Now, I'm not the type of player with a bus route or a train ride, or really where I'm traveling and I'm not driving, right? So I drive a lot, and I really can't play video games on the go like that. So for me, the only use of the handheld mode that I've gotten is on planes. And that's great. Traveling with that and playing is fantastic. But it's not something that I bought the system for. So the main reason this time around that I bought the Switch was to get back into Zelda. And while Breath of the Wild has many incredible things in it, it's great, but I do think it falls short of the best Zeldas, and I actually don't understand the huge hyperbole that everyone gets. I was actually kind of miffed that it won so many Game of the Year awards, truthfully. Not because the quality isn't there, but if this wasn't a Zelda game, nobody would give a shit, and I'm positive that that's the case. If this did not have the Zelda name and this was just random adventure, there's no story. The story is barely there. Your main character still doesn't talk. Yes, you have some cutscenes with Zelda, but they're not like revelatory or anything like that. The shrines feel like part of a different game, and there's too many of them. 120 of them. Why? For me, it's always been quality over quantity. You could have had 10 shrines be dungeons, and then you have the 4 moving monsters as dungeons as well. But instead you have these 120 little puzzles. I think I did 40 of them, and I was good. I had no really valid patience or willingness to go and complete all of those, since they were the same. They were all similar, just a different little puzzle. It reminded me actually of the worst parts of Arkham City and Arkham Knight, which were the Riddler trophies, finding all of them, and for little payoff. There's very little payoff. So yeah, for me, I'd give Zelda Breath of the Wild an 8 or an 8.5, depending on what mood I'm in, honestly. Breakable weapons suck. The world is empty. And while there's story elements to provide background for that, it doesn't need to be so big and so empty. That map should have been about 40% smaller, honestly, and it would have made for a much tighter game. I brought this complaint up before. I probably played it for 60 hours, and it should have been 20. because of all the just like aimless wandering I did. There's no real investment in getting any horse or anything like that. You don't have an attachment like you do with Epona in previous games. I never even used a horse. I just ran everywhere because of stamina. Once I had my stamina high enough, there's no reason to like get a horse and ride around. Enemy variety is okay. It's the same enemies that we've seen in a lot of games, and the bosses were just okay. I was just very underwhelmed considering the praise, and usually I'm good at keeping my expectations in check, but there's just a lot of little things that I think that are holding it back. So, again, to state this, I bought the Switch because of Zelda, and I realize I'm slamming on Zelda, but what Zelda did one thing that I think every open world game should follow, and that's climbing. The ability to climb and scale mountains and walls and everything like that completely changes open world games, and literally every open world game like this should add it, because anytime that it doesn't have it that I've played, I've wanted that feature. That is actually a game-changing feature that everyone needs to take note of and start including. It's really great. And while I am saying it's harsh, I have harsh criticisms, it's only because Zelda is my favorite series. So, of course, I'm going to be a little bit more a little bit more intense with my judgment of it. But at the same time, there were way too many problems that I think people just let go because of the Zelda name. Then obviously I knew Mario was coming out, and that was a big deal, and it looked incredible, and it is. Mario Odyssey is probably my favorite Mario game. It has the best of all Marios. It's wonderful. It has great planets that you can explore, so many moons and little secrets to find, and it's truly a joyful experience. I've said this before, and I'll say it again when I describe this game. I had a grin the entire time playing it, even when I was frustrated, even when I was losing or not getting moons. Anytime I died in a stupid way, I still was smiling the whole time. It is a fantastic game, and I think it's an even greater achievement than what people call Zelda. I think that Mario game will stand the test of time for everyone, where Zelda, you can't just jump in and play like you can Mario. Zelda has a learning curve. Mario does not. It is running and jumping, and it's awesome. It never gets old. So for the future, right? Why do I still, have a Switch? Why did I buy a Switch? And I feel like my expectations changed as I got older for what a Nintendo system would be, and why I didn't wait as long to buy this system. And for me, Nintendo consoles have become only Nintendo first party. I will never play any of the indies that come out. I will never play any of that stuff because I have other systems for those games. The Switch is solely a Nintendo platform for me. I do want to play Kirby's All-Stars. That looks fun, but it's not a $60 game to me. Octopath Traveler is not a $60 game to me, especially how people are saying it's very, very grindy. Despite the beautiful music, despite the wonderful look, it's a grindy RPG with a bad story. That's what I'm hearing. So a lot of their experiences, I want first party titles. And it's crazy, I was thinking about this. I probably won't buy a game for Nintendo this year. I won't buy a game for my Switch. It's essentially collecting dust right now. And because they had such a remarkable year last year. Nintendo last year had one of their all-time best years, maybe their best year in their history, of releasing 2 games like Legend of Zelda and Super Mario. Those are, by all accounts, by consensus, 2 of the top games in that year of a ridiculous year. And for me, it's just, I'm playing it for Nintendo games. And all I'm getting this year is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It comes out in December 8th. So I might go a full calendar year. I bought Mario in October of last year, so I might go 14 months without buying a game for Switch. And while Smash is going to be fantastic, I know it's going to be incredible, I don't really play couch co-op with friends anymore. And I'm not going and playing that online anymore to compete. Smash has never been that for me. Nintendo systems have always been, hey, let's play Mario Kart with a bunch of friends on my couch, or Smash with a bunch of friends. It's always been a communal experience for me, and now that I've gotten older, I don't have that. So for me, this has been one of Nintendo's worst years. Even though by any standard, it's a fantastic year, right? It's still a great year. The amount of indies that they're releasing and basically PC games that are ported that are doing really well on the Switch, I think that's something to say about its popularity and its longevity. But at the same time, it's just not for me. I'm a very rare case, and I know that. So I buy Nintendo for Nintendo first party games. You got Smash this year. That's it. Cool. It seems like they've still got some aces up their sleeve, that they're still going to be releasing some games this year. I hope that's the case. I want to play the Switch. It's a great system, and I want to have reasons to go back to it. It's a great piece of hardware, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think this should be Nintendo's last kind of revision of what their console should be. I think that this system should be it's in its final form. It is the best of both worlds. It's a handheld and a home console. And every 3 to 5 years, they should iterate it and make a new powerful, more powerful system that plays more powerful games, and just keep doing what Xbox is doing and slowly integrate all your back catalog and slowly integrate those NES and SNES and N64 and GameCube games and Wii games and Wii U games. I mean, they're already re-releasing remasters. So they have a lot to work with, and if they actually follow Microsoft's lead on this, I think they can do great things. If they think that in the next 5 years they have to create a brand new system and they release a new home console, I think that's going to be a huge mistake. I think this should be it going forward. I think we only have, I would say, maximum 10 years before really some company figures out the streaming system, or that home console, like you just buy one box that streams everything, that like a Google comes in and just says, screw it, we're just going to do it and make a box, and that's going to be it. I think that's 10 years. I really do. And in that timetable, you're going to be playing stuff on your phone then. I mean, our phones right now are playing Fortnite, and I realize that Breath of the Wild is a little more graphics intense than that, but it's probably not going to be in 10 years. So I think that this should be their final form factor for a while. Keep iterating, keep updating your back catalog to provide value. And yeah, I mean, I think the Switch is a great direction for Nintendo. I'm still excited about it. I know I'm not playing a game. I might not play a game this year. But with their catalog and with their back catalog, I know I'm going to be buying a lot of stuff for it. I know I'm going to buy Mario Kart again. I'm just waiting. I know I'm going to buy Toad's Treasure Tracker. I know I'm going to buy Smash. Like, there's games that I can play right now. I know I'm probably going to buy Octopath Traveler and Kirby and all that stuff. It's just, I'm just waiting because I've played those experiences before and I want something new. I want a new Metroid Prime. I think that would be great. It's coming, who knows when. I'll even give Bayonetta 3 a try, even though I didn't like 1 and 2 particularly that much. So yeah, that's gonna do it. That's my Nintendo rant / talk on why I bought a Switch. My name's GWFawkes. You can find me on Instagram at Twitter, GWFawkes. You can find me here every Sunday through Wednesday at around 7 p.m. Usually 7 p.m. Tonight I had to push it back a little bit, but 7 p.m. To 9 to 10, Sunday through Wednesday nights, playing video games and doing this show. I hope you enjoy it. Twitch.tv/Model Gaming Show. You can find all my archives on YouTube under the same name. And thank you all for joining me, and I hope you have a great night.